Hello everybody, welcome back to another video of GD Baits. And today I'm doing something a little different. I know lately I haven't been posting, my bad, but today I'm going to try and post back to you guys, and what I'm going to do is basically just try and go over some tips on swim jig fishing and just jig fishing in general. So tip number one, I'm going to go over what I like about jigs, what colors I would like and recommend, and whatnot. So let's get into it. So jigs are a very versatile bait. They can mimic a variety of things, like swim jigs can mimic fish, bait fish, hopping jigs like on the bottom could imitate crawfish, brim, creature bait. It doesn't matter, you name it. But color also has to play a major role in it. So color, I have colors here. Basically, this is the 6th Sense Blacklight. This is their jig. It's called Divine, I believe. And this is just their simple jig. I think it's a swim jig, and I put a Strike King Rage Crawl trailer on it in black and blue. And basically, this is just a black, blue, and purple bait. And what this would be used for greatly is because it's a dark bait. This could be used for two of my main conditions. Number one is muddy water. Muddy water, your fish do not have that much visibility, so you're going to really want to give them something to look at, and black is a very dark color that they can see and be visual. And also in tannic water. So if you've ever been to Spring Bayou, my home lake, you would see that the water is tannic. So with tannic water, that means it's like stained and just dark colored water. It's like black almost. And with that, I don't know what it is about it, but it's just good in that. Like, so is black and blue, like this here. This is a Strike King swim jig in black and blue. These are both swim jigs, and these baits are really good in tannic water and muddy water simply because they're dark. So in muddy water, it gives them something to see, but in tannic water, they can't really make out what the bait is. And doing that, if they can't make out what the bait is, then they don't know what it is, and a lot of times they'll just hit it on reaction, and that's really what you want. So that's black and blue for you right there. So if you was ever wondering when to throw black and blue, those are two really good conditions that you can throw it. Okay. Now we're going to talk about shad color. Shad color is a great staple of baits. I like using shad color a lot, like especially like white. Recently it's been a pretty good color for me. But this is the Strike King Shad Color Swim Jig, and basically it's just a shad color. This is sexy shad. It's just got the yellow and gray and white accents. I put a Rage Swimmer on the back. I love those trailers, they're really good. But a lot of the times what I do with these, this is I use it for reactions most of the time, and which you can do that with all the swim jigs. But what you can do is that, so I fish in Spring Bayou, and if I'm going on and I see grass mats, I'm going to target those with a swim jig. And what I mean by that is I will actually take my rod and throw the bait on top of the grass. And this is a more weedless bait because of the brush guard, but you're going to want to throw this on top of the grass and barely pull it off. So right when it meets the water, a lot of times the fish will hit it there. That's in the strike zone, number one, and number two, he reacted to it. And if you don't know what a reaction strike is, basically it's when the fish has less than a second to make a decision in its mind. Do I want to eat this or let it go, or just like be skeptical about it? And most of the time, hopefully, they're going to eat it. So you pull that right off the grass, they just see it and then they're going to eat it. Basically, so right when it comes off, it's like a second and then they eat it. That's just happens, and white makes it a good visual color. They can really see it. But along with that principle, reaction is better than catching it just swimming, because what you don't want the fish to know is what your bait is. I've had times where, like, if it not just be a swim jig, even a swim jig would do it, but lots of baits, even if they look really natural, like I'll be swimming a crankbait and see a fish following it, like, and they just veer away. They see it, they're following the bait to the boat, like a lot of times, and they just do not want to eat that bait. If you give them enough chance to look at it, they'll be like, nah, I see what it is, I'm not eating it. So a lot of times this happens. So spinner baits, you fish them in wind, right? You can fish these in wind. You fish crankbaits in wind, lipless crankbaits in wind. You ever wondered the reason why it's better in wind than in calm? Well, the blades are moving and flashing. If the fish go up to it in calm water, they see them blades and like, man, that's not real, and they're not gonna eat it. But that's for another video. If y'all guys want, we can talk about that in another video. Leave in the comments if you do. So again, shad color is good for muddy water because it is white and they see it just kind of like the black one. But in my opinion, I like fishing black in muddy water because for some reason, I don't know, I just rather it more. That's just an opinion, because you can also like very well fish white in muddy water. This all depends on you. Like, I'm not gonna tell you guys what to fish and what not to fish. This is your choice. So along with that, and these are swim jigs so far. So now we just got normal flipping jigs and football head jigs. So let's get into a football head jig. This is a football head jig. And the reason it's called that is if you look at the head, it's actually wide than it is like round. So it literally is the shape of a football facing this way. And the football jig was designed to hop in and out of rocks. It was designed so that you wouldn't get hung up in the rocks as much. And basically what that does is if you look at, let's see, the standard jig, like flipping jig here, this is the Strike King Pro Model Jig, and this is the Strike King Football Head Jig. If you look at the heads, this one's smaller, so it can get wedged in rocks more. This one has a lot of area, so it's not going to really get wedged in the rocks that much, and it can turn and get out of the rocks easier. That's what this bait was designed for, and it's still producing fish today. I'm guilty of not fishing it more than it needs to be fished. Like, in between the two, I'll probably pick up this one. Simply because I just like it. They're both, well, no, this is a 3/8 ounce, this is a 1/2 ounce. So this is a bigger jig than this one, but I don't know, I like the color more on this one, which that's just me. I could just get a different football head jig, just a different color. That's all my opinion. I don't know, I just feel like I've never had that much success with it, but it's not the bait's fault because I don't fish it enough. I fish this more, and I've had success on this. I've caught really nice fish. And that's another thing. Jigs in general are big fish producing baits. When you fish a jig, you might not get as many bites, but the bites you do get are going to be big. I'm not saying every time you go fish a jig you're going to catch like a 4-pounder. I'm not saying that. You will catch little ones too. But a jig is a very, like, it catches a variety and mostly big ones. So that's why in tournaments, if you fish tournaments, you're going to really want to learn how to master a jig, because this will help you in tournaments. Jigs are just #1 baits. I love fishing them in the winter because a lot of big fish can eat jigs in the winter. I don't know what it is about it. I guess they're just slower. If you just roll this across the bottom, sometimes they just, I don't know, you just catch them. But that's a football head jig. Great. This is a bouncing jig. But if I wanted to swim it, I could. Like, you could swim all these jigs, but I would pick a swim jig over this. Just, I don't know, simply because it's made for that. But this one's just made for the bottom. Next, we have the Strike King Pro Model Jig. This is just a flipping jig, or like a grass jig. I put a clone crawl trailer on there. I have another one with just a standard claw, like Strike King Rage crawl. And like I said before, I don't know, I just like fishing these more. To me, it just looks like a better bait. The color's Texas crawl. I just like fishing the Texas crawl bait more, simply because I don't know, I think it's just opinion, #1. #2, I don't know, I guess it's because I have confidence in it. Like, I've caught a number of fish on these jigs here, and I just have confidence in it. And with that, I don't know, it's just my opinion. But if you guys rather a football head over this, then you go ahead, you do you. I'm not standing in your way. But yeah, this is good. I fish these jigs a lot. I enjoy fishing them, and lately I've been in the spirit of fishing swim jigs more and trying to like get a feel with swim jigs. And guys, if you're uncomfortable still about fishing a swim jig, next time you go fishing, only put like a swim jig in your tackle box, like on your rod, and only fish with that. And just fish with that the whole time. And like that just makes you get a feel of the bait, makes you used to the bait, and makes you learn the inside and out of the bait. And it just makes you know, okay, if I wanted to do this, I know what to do. So that next time when you want to fish a swim jig, you know the conditions when to fish it, you know how to fish it, and you know what's the most effective way to fish it. So that's just kind of what I've been doing lately with the swim jigs. But definitely not going to put these away. These are very good baits, especially in the early spring. You really want to fish jigs like this with the crawfish. Because why? Simply because in the spring the crawfish are coming out of the mud from the winter. In the winter they go and bury in the mud and just like kind of hibernate, and the fish don't see them all winter. So basically in the spring the fish are really feeding on crawfish. That's why crawfish colors are really good. So you fish a jig or a red color crankbait, you're going to imitate crawfish, and that's good. Anytime you can imitate the natural bait fish, it's always good. So with that being said, here is the crawfish. When I'm fishing for fish that are feeding on crawfish, I like to throw this one a lot. I don't know where I got it, but it's just a jig. I forgot the brand. It's just like a blue and orange and black crawfish colored like jig. That's simply what it is. And I put a Molten Crawl Z-Man Turbo Crawls trailer, which by Z-Man, it's elastic. See, like no fish is gonna take the trailer off. Those trailers are great. I use those a lot for jigs and different purposes. I have a pack of those and some other Z-Man trailers, but yes, no fish could like break that off. Like it's elastic. That's why it's very convenient. But with this jig, a lot of times, like right now or like even in the spring, I like fishing these because the fish, this is a bigger bait, so this means bigger fish producing bait. Like I said earlier, a jig produces big fish. And with this, you're just really, you don't want to, I don't know, fishing around laydowns, structure. Like with a jig, I'm going to talk about that in a minute with a rod. You want to put your jig through everything. You want to put your jig through everything. Like, I don't care if you are afraid to get hung. That's what this is for. It's okay. Like, we all get hung. But pitch it in there. Flip it in there. Skip it in there. No matter what you have to do, get your jig in the water. Like, anytime you can get your jig there, that's it. That's the key. So, and here's just another red and black skirt. This is a smaller jig. I actually have a bunch of these. These are just smaller jigs. It's a 3/8 ounce, but it's just smaller and compact. And a lot of times whenever I'm fishing a jig and I want more bites, I'll kind of switch to this as a brim color because I have like these. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. I'll switch to like this style. It's just a smaller jig in this natural blue, like brim color. And just brim color is really good because it's just one of the natural forages of spring pine and just where we fish. And also shad. I have, let's see, yeah, a little shad one with a giant trailer. But I'll get into that on another video. Then you also have these colors. This is the color that you're not gonna fish very often, even though it's beautiful. I love this color, but let me explain to you guys what this and odd colors do. So you go to the store and you see bubblegum trickworms or bubblegum flukes. We all seen the crazy hot pink color baits. I have some. I'm not gonna be shamed for it because what that is come April, when the fish have seen every bait you have, they get conditioned to every angler's lure. Think about it. In the duck season, mojos. So many ducks see what a mojo is. That's kind of the same way with fish. Fish see your baits. Like even with spinner bait, they can get conditioned to the vibration of the spinner bait. But if you're constantly throwing this brim color right here, change it up a bit. Throw this as a swim jig. This is just like a orangey chartreuse color. Throw the hot pink trick worm. A lot of times I like to throw that because you're giving the fish something that they have not seen. And a lot of times that can get you on more bites and bigger bites at that. So don't be afraid to try something that looks stupid or you haven't tried before. And it also helps to try different things and get you out of your comfort zone. So with that, I would use this, but this is a beautiful color. I'm not shaming it in any way, saying that it's ugly. I like it. It's pretty. But yeah. So I hope this section of the video was helpful. And that's pretty much the colors. Shad, black, and blue, and just dark colors. Brim and crawfish. Those are like the main colors I like. Oh, and bubblegum. I've been shopping around trying to find me bubblegum swim jig. Might do a video on that if I do find it. But yes, that should be a game changer if the fish have never seen that. So yeah, that's just the colors. For the other section of this video, I just really want to talk about rods. Don't mind the bait at the end, it's going to be loud. But this is a Berkeley cherry wood. This cherry? Berkeley, yeah, Berkeley. I thought so. With a Silver Max reel with 15-pound line on it. And what this is my bait caster rod that I like to use for jigs and spinner baits and crankbaits. But I mostly use it for crankbaits, but I do use another cherry wood rod for jigs. This is just the example. What you want with a jig is a parabolical bend. And what that is you want your rod to have backbone to it. So for this portion of the rod, you want it to be a little stiff and strong. So, but for the top, not just the tip, you want it to slowly get softer. And with the parabolical bend, you just want basically a fast action tip rod, so that, especially with a swim jig, you're swimming it, the fish is gonna load up on it. What that means is you're just gonna come and just suck it in. You don't want a broomstick to yank it out of his mouth sometimes, because that'll bust his lips open a lot of times. You're not careful. I'm not saying they're gonna go completely open, but sometimes the hook can slide out. You can literally just pull it out of his mouth, and that's not good. You don't want that. So with this kind of a rod, you basically just have a bend in it so that you're gonna keep that fish pinned longer. With the broomstick, a jig is often heavy, so he has a lot of mass to swing. He can throw that jig if he's jumping, but with your flexible rod, you're gonna keep him pinned that whole time. And this works. I fish this more than a stiff rod. I have a flipping rod. I don't fish jigs on that rod. No matter what jig it is, I'm gonna fish it on a flexible, more limber rod. I'm not talking about go buy a noodle out there and fish a jig on that. I'm not talking an absolute soft rod. No, I do want some backbone, to get that jig through cover, through the grass, hoist a giant fish into the boat if I have to. I want to be able to do that. So that's just on the rod. And the final tip is efficiency. With a jig, it's all fine to talk about the colors and what rod and gear to use. Sure, you can get all those right, but efficiency is more important. So here's the thing. There was a guy, I forgot his name, of course. He won.
What?
Countless tournaments on swim jigs, fishing them. And what made him different from all the other guys throwing a swim jig was they casted it. No, he flipped it. And something as simple of a change as that, all the other guys would cast it. Sure, he could cast it, but he flipped it. He got it in and out of that cover so often, so much. And basically what that does is just creates more time in the strike zone with your bait. So for him, one cast, he could, if he made one cast, he could have flipped 5 times. And what that does is with one cast, once you reel it out of the strike zone, you're still reeling it. You understand? So if you flip and flip and flip, it's constantly in the strike zone more often than it is in one cast. So I encourage you, if you can and you really want to get into jig fishing, try to flip it. Like, jigs are literally called flipping jigs. Like, flipping jigs are called flipping jigs for a reason. Even if it ain't a flipping jig, flip any jig, or like, and this doesn't just apply to jigs. Flip any bait. As long as you can keep that bait in the strike zone for the longest time you can, that's good. It gives you more chance of a bite. And this is just an efficient way to catch fish. This happens a lot. If you can get into the habit of flipping or skipping, like if you have an area where the docks have a little space between the water and you want to skip, learn to skip. It is useful. In another video, I can teach how to skip. I'm not the greatest myself, but I still know the tricks about skipping, the different styles. If you guys want to know how to skip, please leave a comment. I'll video. Skipping, it's pretty simple. You want like this kind of a rod, a parabolical bend. And with the parabolical bend, you just want more of a, like, this is hard to explain. So with a skip, you just want like a flexible tip so that you can really wing the bait under the trees. But that's a different video. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment in the videos what you want to see more of. Like, if there's a certain bait that you like to fish but are not really certain how to fish it or when to fish it, like what conditions to fish it, then you guys leave in a comment, alright? Like, I can do these videos for you guys. So I thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please hit that subscribe button. You know that helps me a lot. I love you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
What?